easier for me because I don't have to explain to you all of the nitty-gritty of DNA evidence or anything like that. I can talk to you more about what you're going to be dealing with your future clients, what it's like to be at the center of one of these stories and scandals that not only take over the lives of the people involved, but kind of in a way, for some weird reason, take over the world. To take you back to how it all began, in 2007, so, before smartphones, when Facebook was still cool, I was 20 years old and I was at school, like all of you guys. I was studying languages and poetry, so I was not dealing with like really hardcore stuff like you guys were. I was like yoga and rock climbing and, Elizabeth Bishop and stuff like that. That was my world. And, I recall like one of my classes was trying to figure out how to say the word in Italian for squirrel, which, does anyone know what it is? It's scoiattolo. It was a very weird word at the time for me to say. And I decided, because I'd always wanted to do this, to study abroad, my third year of college. I planned it all out. I actually had applied to 2 different countries. I was like, maybe I can go to Germany, or maybe I can go to Italy. And it came into my house, the front door was open, which I thought was odd, but also the front door lock didn't quite work, so maybe someone didn't lock it all the way and the wind blew it open, I thought. And then I looked around, everything looked normal. I got changed, I took a shower, and I found blood in the sink in my bathroom. And I thought, that's weird, it's a little bit of blood. Am I bleeding? I just got my ears pierced. Am I bleeding? No. Where'd that come from? I don't know, it must be nothing. It's just a few drops of blood. Take a shower, do my thing, change, blow dry my hair. And that's when I noticed that there was poop left in the toilet in the second bathroom in the cottage. And that, to me, struck me as very odd, because my 2 Italian roommates, whose bathroom this was, they were meticulous cleaners. They would not have left something like that in their bathroom. And I immediately got chills. I immediately thought that someone was in the house with me, and I immediately left. I went back to Raffaele's apartment. I explained to him what I had seen, and he said, you should get in touch with your roommates. Maybe they know what's going on. And so I called them. I called Laura, no answer. I called Meredith, no answer. I called Philomena. Finally, someone answers. She tells me to go back home and double check that nothing bad had happened. She hadn't been home that night, Laura hadn't been home that night. It must have only been Meredith, but no one knew where Meredith was. So I go home with Raffaele. I don't know how to call the cops or anything like this at the time. I come home and I take a better look around. And opening the door into the bedroom of Laura, I notice that everything's fine, everything's perfect, bedspread perfectly neat. I go into the bedroom with Philomena, and it is a wreck. The entire place is strewn, everything is everywhere. There's glass, there's a window broken, but at the same time, there's her laptop right on the counter, and it seems like everything's there, and Laura's room was fine, and my room was fine, and the TV's still in the living room, so what's going on? And I finally go and try to look in Meredith's room. Meredith's room would not open. I knocked, I called, and no one answered. So I asked Raffaele to try to kick the door down. He tried, he wasn't able to kick it down, it was locked. So he called the cops. And to make a long story short, I guess, there's been a lot of talk about this case over the past, goodness, it's over 10 years now. This case made international headlines for over 10 years. And it wasn't just an every once in a while kind of headline. There was periods of time where it was every single day. For all of that media attention, all of that scrutiny, what I find interesting about this case is that very few people know what actually happened, who actually did it. And that's because the story of the murderer of Meredith Kercher has not been widely shared. At the same time that I was living my life in Perugia and having a good time, another story was unfolding in the shadows. And that was that a young man who grew up in Perugia in a foster family had recently been kicked out for having stolen from his foster family. And he was a bit on a downward spiral. He was breaking and entering. He was that we all make at some point in our lives, which is that we make a rash gut decision or judgment about someone, and we pursue that gut judgment regardless of what facts are presented to us. That's really the easiest way to explain what happened in my case. The police had an extremely horrendous, gruesome murder on their hands. And the international media immediately descended upon this town, this very small town, with very limited resources, demanding answers. So within 5 days, they can go out to the media and say, case closed, we got the murderer, everything's okay, aren't we fabulous? But then when the actual evidence came back, when the forensic evidence came back, when the fingerprints had been examined, when the DNA had been examined, when Meredith's body had gone through autopsy, their theory of the case did not add up. Because here was a crime scene where clearly Meredith had fought for her life and had been brutally assaulted before she had been stabbed. Here was all of this DNA all over the crime scene, and none of it pointed to me. None of it pointed to Raffaele, my partner, and all of it pointed to someone who was not even on the police's radar. This guy named Rudy Gaudet, who in the meantime had fled the country to Germany. But instead of, probably said, you deserve this, you fucking pure girl, like he's in the courtroom, like putting words in my mouth as if I'm like pure shaming her. I'm thinking, this is crazy. Come on, everyone sees through this, right? This is all gonna work out fine, and indeed, sure, it wasn't working out all fine because there's a battleground of storytelling. And it wasn't, the story that won was not the most truthful story. It was the most compelling story. It was the story